Rivers in Mississippi have carried history for centuries. They have witnessed life, love, tragedy, and death. Some of these waters are calm and serene by day. But when night falls, the rivers reveal another story. Ghostly figures drift along the banks. Whispers echo from the trees. Shadows linger where no one walks. And the water itself seems to hold memories too dark to speak. Tonight, we journey to 20 river places in Mississippi where the past refuses to rest. Where the living and the dead brush shoulders along the shores. Where echoes of sorrow and cries for help are carried by the wind. Step carefully. The rivers are alive with more than fish and frogs tonight. Greetings, my friend. Thank you for joining me as we explore 20 haunted river places across Mississippi. From abandoned docks to foggy river bends, these locations hold stories that chill the spine. Some are haunted by tragic accidents. Some are home to spirits who were betrayed, murdered, or lost to the river. Some carry the echoes of songs sung long ago, drifting over the water at night. Imagine standing on the bank of a river at midnight. The moonlight glistens off the water. You hear whispers from the woods. A figure appears across the water. It watches you silently. Then it is gone, leaving only a cold breeze and the rippling water behind. Some hauntings are playful, some vengeful, and some sorrowful. Some ghosts are trapped in the water, some along the banks, and some wandering through nearby forests. Now I have a question for you. If you were alone by a dark river in Mississippi and saw a ghostly figure floating across the water, would you stay to watch it? Or would you run as fast as you can? Comment your answer. I am curious to know how you would face the spirits of the river tonight. The Pascagoula River flows quietly through the Mississippi landscape, its waters dark and reflective beneath the moonlight. By day, the banks are alive with the sounds of birds and insects, the gentle rustle of trees, and the occasional splash of a fish breaking the surface. But as night falls, a different presence takes hold, a presence whispered about by locals for generations. On the riverbanks, mist curls low over the water, curling around the roots of ancient trees and settling into the hollows of the Rivera's edge. In this shifting haze, travelers and fishermen alike have reported seeing a figure clothed in white. She moves slowly, her form ethereal, gliding along the banks as if she is part of the mist itself. The air grows colder when she appears, and a deep, sorrowful crying echoes across the water, carrying the weight of decades of grief. The crying woman is said to search endlessly for someone lost long ago. Her sobs are soft, almost imperceptible at first, then swell into a mournful wail that rises and falls with the current. Those who have glimpsed her describe a face pale and drawn, eyes hollow yet filled with longing. She does not speak, but the sadness she carries communicates itself with every movement, every tear that falls into the dark water. The river seems to respond to her presence. Gentle waves lap at the shore as though stirred by her sorrow. Reeds bend and sway without wind. And the surface reflects her faint, glowing outline. At times, the sound of a splash is heard nearby. Yet no one is there to witness it. Boats moored along the river appear untouched. But a subtle chill permeates the air. A warning to those who dare linger too long. Stories suggest she was a woman from a nearby settlement. Someone whose loved one vanished in the river under tragic circumstances. Some claim she waited by the water for years, hoping for his return. Until her own life faded away. Yet even in death, she remains, tied to the river and her endless mourning. Witnesses say that her cries can be heard more clearly on nights when the river is calm. The water reflecting the moon in perfect stillness, amplifying the sorrow carried across the banks. The crying woman appears without pattern, often seen by lone travelers or those fishing at the edges of the river. She glides silently, sometimes pausing to look toward the water as though listening for a response. Then continuing her slow, relentless search. The sound of her weeping seems to follow those nearby, filling the silence with a haunting rhythm that echoes long after she has vanished. Locals warn against approaching her, noting that the closer one gets, the more oppressive the sorrow feels. It is said that she does not intend harm, yet the weight of her grief is palpable, pressing against the chest and settling into the bones. People describe sudden chills, goosebumps, and the sensation of invisible eyes watching from the shadows of the trees. She moves with a purpose that is unbroken by the presence of living witnesses, a figure both present and untouchable. Some fishermen tell of seeing her stand over the water, the surface rippling as if in response to her lament. Lines left in the river or nets cast into the current often appear disturbed in ways that defy explanation. A ripple here, a splash there, subtle indications that the river itself shares in her grief, carrying echoes of the past to anyone willing to listen. Nights that are otherwise still become charged with tension, the natural sounds muted under the presence of her sorrow. The crying woman has become a symbol of memory and loss along the Pascagoula River. She reminds those who glimpse her that history is never truly gone. And that the river holds stories deeper than the water itself. Her figure, faint and luminescent in the moonlight, leaves an impression on all who see her. The air grows thick with emotion, and even after she disappears, the sound of her weeping lingers like an echo caught between the river and the banks. On particularly quiet nights, the river seems to breathe with her presence. Mist rolls across the surface. And the cry of her sorrow mingles with the calls of distant owls. And the rustle of leaves. The scene is haunting but strangely serene. A testament to grief carried through time. And the enduring bond between the living and the lost. The crying woman as a reminder that some stories cannot be silenced. And some souls cannot find rest. And some souls cannot find rest. Travelers often leave the banks with a sense of reverence, carrying the memory of the crying woman as a reminder that some stories cannot be silenced. Even as dawn breaks and the first light of day illuminates the river, traces of her vigil remain. And the chill in the morning air recalls the weight of the night before. The Pascagoula River flows on. She wanders, weeps and waits. A phantom shaped by love and loss, tethered forever to the riverbanks she cannot abandon. The crying woman is more than a ghostly figure. She is a living memory in spectral form, her presence a reminder of the fragility of life, the permanence of grief, and the mysteries that lie hidden within the flowing waters. Those who witness her walk away changed, their senses sharpened to the quiet whispers of the river. And the unseen stories that linger in every shadow. The Pascagoula River remains a place of haunting beauty, where the sorrow of the past can be felt in the present. And the crying woman continues her endless vigil, unseen but never forgotten. The Yazoo River flows silently through the Mississippi landscape, its waters dark and reflective under the glow of moonlight. Along its winding course, the river carries stories that have been whispered for generations, tales of those who vanished upon its surface and the mysteries that linger long after the living have moved on. Travelers at night often feel a shiver run down their spine as the water moves with an uncanny rhythm, as if it holds secrets just beyond the reach of the eye. It is along this river that the phantom boatman appears. The water ripples gently as though disturbed by oars slicing through it. Yet no figure is seen to guide it. The soft, hypnotic sound of rowing drifts across the banks, mingling with the rustling of reeds and the call of distant night birds. There is no wind to explain the movement, no current strong enough to push the boat in such a deliberate path. It moves with purpose, gliding past overgrown docks and abandoned piers, a vessel without a crew, yet undeniably alive with motion. Locals speak of seeing the boat gliding silently from the shadows, its outline faint against the dark water. Some say the boatman is a lost soul, doomed to wander the river for eternity. Others believe he is a guardian, ensuring that travelers remain safe, guiding them along the water's hidden channels. The sightings are fleeting. Those who attempt to approach the boat find only the gentle ripples it leaves behind, the sound of oars fading into silence. The night eerily still. The river itself seems to respond to the presence of the phantom. Mist rises from the surface, curling around tree-lined banks, enveloping the boat in a shifting veil, making it impossible to discern where reality ends and illusion begins. Shadows move in ways that defy explanation, the faint outline of the boat sometimes appearing larger than its true size, as if the spirit it carries is boundless. Stories of the phantom boatman are as varied as the river bends. Some describe him as a solitary figure, hooded and silent, rowing with unwavering precision. Others recount moments when the boat drifts close enough to glimpse the outline of a man, features obscured by shadow, eyes fixed on the river ahead. He never turns, never acknowledges those who watch from the banks, yet there is an undeniable presence, a weight that presses upon the air, the feeling of being observed by something both unseen and knowing. Fishermen and night travelers speak of encounters that defy explanation. Lanterns held above the water catch glimpses of the drifting vessel, and oar strokes echo across the river as though performed by a living being. Yet when they row closer, the boat is gone, leaving behind only the faint smell of river mud and the whisper of disturbed water. The experience is both unnerving and mesmerizing. A reminder that the Yazoo River is a living entity, holding within it the memories of countless souls, and the mysteries of its deep, dark waters. The history of the river adds to its haunting presence. Steamboats once plied its course, carrying goods and passengers. And tales tell of vessels lost in storms, captains who vanished without a trace, and lives claimed by the unforgiving current. Perhaps it is these stories that gave rise to the phantom boatman. A spirit tied to the river by tragedy and memory. Each appearance seems to echo a past long forgotten, yet vividly alive to those who witness it. Travelers who linger along the banks report a strange sense of time stretching and bending. The quiet lapping of water becomes a rhythmic chant. The boat appearing in one bend of the river, then vanishing only to reappear downstream. There is a hypnotic quality to the scene, a feeling that the river and its ghostly passenger exist outside ordinary rules. The air grows cool, the mist thickens, and the sounds of nocturnal life fade, leaving only the boat and its silent journey. Some have tried to follow the phantom boat, guiding their own vessels along the river. Yet the pursuit is always in vain. The boat maintains its course, untouchable, moving faster or slower as if aware of those who chase it. When dawn breaks, it disappears entirely, leaving the river as calm and empty as it was before. The only evidence of the encounter a slight ripple in the water and a lingering sense of awe. The phantom boatman of the Yazoo River is more than a simple ghost story. He embodies the river itself, a symbol of the passage of time, of the lives that have ebbed and flowed along its course, and of the mysteries that lie just beneath the surface. For those who witness him, there is a profound feeling of connection to something ancient and enduring. A presence that reminds them that the river holds its secrets close, yet reveals glimpses to those who dare to watch and listen. As night falls over the Yazoo, the river takes on its ethereal quality, shrouded in mist and moonlight. The sound of oars begins, soft at first, then steady, echoing across the water. The phantom boat glides along its course, a silent guardian or wandering spirit, leaving behind an air of mystery that lingers long after the last ripple fades. Travelers and locals alike know that the river is never truly empty. That the phantom boatman waits in the shadows, guiding, watching and continuing a journey that has lasted far longer than anyone could imagine. A haunting presence eternally tied to the flowing waters of the Yazoo. The Mississippi River flows endlessly, its waters reflecting the fading light of dusk. The scent of river mud and aged wood lingers, mixing with the cool breeze that drifts off the water. These docks have seen generations of travelers, fishermen, and riverboats, each leaving behind traces that time has not entirely erased. It is here that witnesses speak of a shadowy figure, a dark silhouette standing silently at the water's edge. Observers describe it as tall and still, motionless yet unmistakably present. Its gaze is fixed upon the flowing river, as if searching for something lost or waiting for someone long gone. The figure does not speak, does not move, yet its presence is profoundly felt, a tension that hangs in the air like a heavy fog. Those who have approached report a chilling encounter. The closer one moves, the more the figure seems to dissolve into the darkness. By the time anyone reaches the spot, the shadow has vanished, leaving only an empty dock. No footprints mark its path, no sign of its presence remains beyond the lingering sense of being watched. The phenomenon has become a quiet legend among locals. Fishermen speak of early morning sightings when mist rises from the river, blending the figure with the fog. Evening travelers recount glimpses during sunset, when the low light casts long shadows across the wooden planks. Each account carries a similar thread, a figure, always at the edge of perception, observing yet unreachable. The atmosphere along the Mississippi at night only enhances the mystery. The river carries sound differently, transforming distant calls into echoes, making ordinary creaks of the dock seem like steps. The gentle waves reflect the moonlight, creating patterns of silver and black that shift with the current. Within this environment, the shadowy figure seems to belong, a natural yet supernatural extension of the river itself. Some theorize that the figure is tied to the Rivera's history. The Mississippi has claimed lives over the centuries, from accidents to drownings. And the docks have been the site of countless farewells. It is easy to imagine a soul lingering here, bound to the waters where fate intervened. Others suggest it may be the echo of those who once worked the river. A sentinel watching over the place that defined their lives. Visitors often speak of the emotions stirred by the sighting. There is fear, certainly, a primal response to the unknown. Yet alongside it is curiosity, an irresistible pull to understand what stands at the edge of perception. Some feel sadness, a sorrow that seems to emanate from the figure itself, carried on the wind over the water. The experience is quiet but powerful, leaving a lasting impression that does not fade with distance from the river. The docks themselves tell a story of time and endurance. Splintered boards, rusted bolts, and faded paint speak of decades of use and abandonment. The air carries a mixture of river moisture and the faint scent of old timber. Every detail contributes to the sensation that this place is a threshold between past and present. Between the living and something lingering just out of reach. Even in daylight, traces of the shadow remain in the imagination. Observers describe a sense of emptiness that feels deliberate. As if the river itself is holding a secret. The figure may not appear in the bright sun, yet the memory of its presence lingers in the mind. A reminder of how easily the ordinary can touch the extraordinary. The Mississippi River has long inspired stories, songs, and myths. Its vastness and power create a canvas for the unexplained. And the shadowy figure on the docks fits seamlessly into that tradition. It is a presence that cannot be captured fully, only experienced fleetingly. And its brief appearances provoke thought and wonder about what exists beyond human perception. Witnesses note that the figure does not behave like the living. It does not react to movement. It does not acknowledge conversation. And does not leave a trace. Its stillness is both haunting and mesmerizing. As if time behaves differently around it. Those who have seen it often return to the docks, hoping for another glimpse. Driven by the need to understand or connect with the mystery that eludes them. The Rivera's currents continue, carrying stories from town to town, generation to generation. The shadowy figure remains part of this ongoing narrative, a symbol of the unseen, the forgotten, and the inexplicable. It invites observers to contemplate the boundaries between life and what lies beyond, between memory and manifestation, between reality and the lingering echoes of the past. As night deepens, the river darkens. And the docks are left in silence once more. The shadow may appear again or remain hidden. A quiet reminder of the mysteries that reside along the water's edge. It is a presence that demands attention without intrusion. A solitary watcher over the timeless flow of the Mississippi. The shadow may appear again or remain hidden, a quiet reminder of the mysteries that reside along the water's edge. The legend endures because it cannot be fully explained. The shadowy figure of the Mississippi docks represents the unknown, the persistence of memory. The quiet power of places where history, water, and human experience intersect. For those who witness it, the moment is fleeting but unforgettable, a brush with a presence that refuses to be ignored, standing eternally at the edge of the river. Standing eternally at the edge of the river. The Pearl River winds quietly through the landscape, its waters glinting under the early morning sun and reflecting the dense trees along its banks. By day, it is a place of calm and industry, fishermen casting their lines with practiced rhythm, boats drifting gently in the current, and the occasional splash of a leaping fish. But as the light fades and the fog begins to rise, the river takes on a different character, one that speaks of loss, memory, and the mysteries that linger where water meets land. Locals tell stories of a fisherman who disappeared decades ago, a man who knew the river as intimately as the lines of his own hands. One day he set out and never returned. His boat washed ashore alone, his nets empty, and no trace of him was ever found. Since then, those who venture out along the river in the quiet hours sometimes claim to see a figure standing in the water, casting a line as though engaged in the work he loved. The apparition appears suddenly, a solitary silhouette against the mist. The figure moves with ease and familiarity, the motion of the rod fluid and precise. Observers say there is no sound, only the faint ripple of water disturbed by the line, yet the presence is undeniable. Boats drift closer, curiosity pulling travelers toward the figure, but when approached, the fisherman vanishes. One moment he stands with quiet determination, the next the water is empty, leaving only a sense of displacement and wonder. The river itself seems to guard his secret. The fog rolls in with a soft persistence, swallowing the outlines of boats and trees, and lending an ethereal quality to the waters. Sunlight catches on the surface in broken patterns, giving the illusion of movement where there is none. Shadows shift in the corners of perception, and the river bends in ways that suggest there is more to be seen than the eye can immediately discern. Some who have encountered the vanishing fisherman describe a sense of familiarity mingled with unease. He seems alive, yet removed from the present, a figure suspended between memory and reality. The water around him gleams with the reflection of the sky, but his image never fully rests in one place. There is a weight to the sighting, a quiet reminder of the fragility of life and the mysteries that rivers can hold. Carrying away lives as silently as they carry away logs and fallen leaves. The phenomenon is not limited to a single night or season. Reports come from different stretches of the river, at varying times, yet the description remains consistent. A lone figure, focused on his work, casting and reeling, moving as though guided by forces unseen. The story passes from one generation of fishermen to the next, a cautionary tale as well as a point of fascination. Some consider it a warning to respect the river, others a haunting proof that certain spirits cannot leave the places they loved most. Those who linger near the banks at twilight sometimes sense a presence even when no figure is visible. The water seems to shimmer differently, ripples form in patterns that cannot be explained. And a chill rises that is not entirely due to the evening air. These sensations reinforce the stories of the fishermen who never returned, making the legend of the vanishing figure more than just a tale. It becomes a lived experience, a narrative of place and memory intertwined with the landscape itself. Observers often note that the river feels heavier where the apparition appears. The current slows in unusual ways. Leaves drift longer before settling. And the mist thickens in response to movement. Time seems to stretch. The boundary between the known and the unknown blurring. As the fisherman remains just out of reach. It is as if the river itself preserves his presence. A silent witness to his life. And the mystery of his disappearance. The vanishing fisherman also serves as a mirror to human curiosity. Travelers approach, extend hands, and call out. But the figure never responds. Instead, he remains a phantom of devotion, practicing the art he loved in life. Untouched by fear or expectation. In this, he is both a presence and an absence. A symbol of dedication that transcends the limits of mortality. By dawn, the river returns to its ordinary rhythm. Boats drift and birds take flight. And the water sparkles in the sunlight. Yet the memory of the figure lingers. In the minds of those who witnessed him. Stories are shared quietly among fishermen, travelers, and locals. Each retelling reinforcing the enigma of Pearl River. The vanished fisherman becomes a reminder that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, but observed and respected. The river continues its course, carrying all it encounters with quiet inevitability. In the fog and twilight, the vanishing fisherman may appear again, casting his line, moving with a purpose that only he fully understands. His presence is fleeting, yet indelible, a haunting testament to the lives intertwined with the waters of Pearl River. Those who see him know that the river holds more than water and fish, it holds memory, spirit, and a connection between past and present that remains unbroken, as enduring and elusive as the figure himself. The Wolf River winds quietly through dense forests and marshlands, its waters reflecting the moonlight with a silvery shimmer. By day, the river is calm, filled with the sounds of birds, insects, and the gentle ripple of water against the shore. But as night falls, a different presence awakens along its banks, a presence whispered about by locals for generations. Along the shoreline, a lantern appears. It floats just above the water, swaying gently as though carried by an unseen hand. Its light is warm and steady, yet it illuminates nothing, casting shadows that dance without form and revealing no path for the living to follow. Those who have seen it describe a surreal glow, ethereal and unearthly, moving slowly along the curves of the river as if tracing a route known only to itself. The ghostly lantern has become a part of Wolf River's mysterious reputation. Locals tell stories of travelers who followed its light, drawn by curiosity or the hope of discovering something extraordinary. As they walk behind it, the lantern drifts further ahead, always just out of reach. The air grows cold, and a heavy feeling settles into the chest, a warning that the light is not meant to guide human steps. Those who follow report sudden chills, the sensation of invisible eyes watching from the shadows of the trees, and the unmistakable feeling of being pursued by a presence they cannot see. The sound of the river is altered when the lantern is near, muted and distorted, as though the current itself bends to the lanterna's passage. Some witnesses say they hear soft whispers mingling with the rustle of leaves, voices just beyond comprehension, neither threatening nor comforting, but impossibly present. The lantern appears without pattern. Some nights it drifts lazily along the shore. Other nights it flashes ahead with sudden speed. Then halts hovering as if waiting for the next observer. Those who have dared to approach find it impossible to touch. As though made of smoke and light rather than metal and flame. It responds to human attention with an eerie intelligence. Moving deliberately to maintain distance. Yet lingering long enough to ensure it is seen. Folklore suggests that the lantern is tied to a soul lost to the river long ago. Someone whose life ended along these banks under circumstances no one can forget. The light may be searching, wandering, or perhaps replaying a memory, its purpose hidden in layers of time and grief. Many who encounter it feel a connection, a brief understanding of loss and longing that transcends the normal bounds of human experience. The river itself seems to honor the lanterna's presence. Mist rises from the water, curling around trees and reeds, clinging to the banks as though trying to frame the light in its natural embrace. Shadows lengthen unnaturally in the lanterna's glow, and reflections ripple in strange patterns across the surface. Birds fall silent when it passes, and the wind carries only the soft sigh of night through the marshes. Those who have followed the lantern often describe the experience as both beautiful and unsettling. The light draws them along paths they would not have taken, past hidden coves and quiet stretches of the river where the water mirrors the stars. Yet with each step, the chill grows stronger, and the feeling of being watched intensifies. The lantern is a guide with no destination, a presence that tests curiosity and courage while keeping its secrets hidden. Encounters are brief but lasting. Travelers who have walked the banks after midnight recall the glow of the lantern etched into memory, the sensation of invisible eyes observing every movement, and the way the river seemed alive with a silent awareness. Even after the lantern disappears into the distance, the impression lingers. The night feels different, charged with the memory of something unseen, something waiting. And the river retains a sense of expectancy long after the witness has departed. The ghostly lantern has become a symbol of mystery along the Wolf River. It represents the unseen, the boundary between the natural world and the realm of spirits. A reminder that even familiar landscapes can hold secrets beyond comprehension. Those who respect it often leave the banks quietly, carrying the experience as a subtle, haunting memory. On nights when the moon is high and the mist thick, the lantern can appear again, floating along the shore as if replaying an ancient ritual. Its light may beckon a new observer, or it may drift silently, unnoticed by anyone awake. Yet those who have glimpsed it know the truth: the ghostly lantern is part of the river now, a presence woven into its waters, shadows, and silence. It remains elusive, untouchable, a spectral guide whose purpose is not to lead, but to remind. The Wolf River flows on, carrying its secrets in the darkness. Trees bend gently over the banks, and the water shimmers under the moon, reflecting the unseen paths of the lantern. Some say that the lantern watches for the lost, others that it waits for the curious. All agree that it is a presence unlike any other. Haunting and beautiful, a ghostly light, whose story continues with each nightfall along the river. The ghostly lantern drifts, cold and silent, illuminating a world between the living and the unseen. The big black river winds quietly through the Mississippi landscape, its dark waters reflecting the dim glow of the moon. The riverbank is lined with ancient trees whose twisted roots reach toward the water. The air carries the scent of damp earth and river mud. On still nights, the world feels suspended, every sound amplified in the silence. It is here, along the water's edge, that the story of the sobbing child unfolds. Travelers and locals have long reported hearing the soft cries of a child drifting across the river. The sobs are faint at first, almost imperceptible, blending with the rustle of leaves and the gentle lapping of water against the shore. Yet the sound is distinct, haunting in its clarity, evoking a deep sense of sorrow that lingers in the chest of anyone who listens. The child's presence seems tied to the river, appearing at night when the mist rolls in, obscuring the banks and deepening the shadows. Those who approach the source of the crying often find the riverbank empty. The sobs continue, but no figure is visible. Footprints appear briefly in the soft mud, small and delicate, only to vanish moments later as if erased by some unseen hand. The child's cries may shift in tone, rising and falling with the gentle rhythm of the river, echoing across the water, yet remaining untouchable and elusive. The legend of the sobbing child has been told for generations. Some believe the spirit is that of a child who wandered too close to the river long ago, lost to the waters and never recovered. Others suggest the figure represents more than a single soul, a manifestation of grief and loss tied to the river's long history. Fishermen and late-night travelers recount feelings of being watched, a chill descending suddenly, as if the sorrow carried by the child extends beyond the audible cries and into the very air. The river at night takes on an ethereal quality. Mist rises from the surface, curling among the trees and clinging to the banks. And the moonlight refracts off the dark water, creating shifting shadows. Within this haze, the sobbing child seems almost tangible. A fleeting presence glimpsed in the corner of the eye. Occasionally, the faint outline of a small figure appears near the water. Crouched or standing, disappearing the moment it is directly observed. The effect is both unsettling and mesmerizing, leaving witnesses with an impression of sorrow frozen in time. Many who have encountered the child describe a profound silence that follows the cries. A stillness that contrasts with the Rivera's gentle movement. The sobs stop as suddenly as they begin, leaving behind only the distant ripple of water and the faint scent of the riverbank. It is as if the child exists between moments. A spirit bound to the Rivera's edge, appearing and vanishing with the tides of night. Those who linger by the river report more than sound. Shadows seem to shift in unnatural ways. And the air carries a coldness that is not explained by the season or weather. Occasionally, objects along the bank appear to move slightly. A stone rolling, a branch shifting, though no living hand is seen. These small disturbances enhance the sense of presence. A quiet reminder that the child is near, watching or perhaps calling, yet remaining forever beyond reach. The river's history deepens the mystery. For centuries, the Big Black River has carried commerce and travel, but it has also claimed lives. Tales of accidents, drownings, and disappearances are woven into the fabric of local memory, and the sobbing child may be a spectral echo of these past tragedies. Each encounter serves as a haunting reminder of the fragility of life and the way the river holds its secrets close, revealing only fleeting glimpses to those who venture near after dark. When the child's cries are heard, fading slightly when they stop and rising again when they continue. A feeling that the spirit is both calling for attention. The child's presence seems to straddle the line between the living and the spectral. And emotion. The sobbing child of the Big Black River is more than a fleeting apparition. The cries embody sorrow, history, and the unspoken stories of the Rivera's past. Witnesses often leave with a lingering impression, a sense of having glimpsed something profound and untouchable, a momentary connection to a presence that exists outside ordinary perception. The river, ever flowing and ever watchful, cradles the spirit within its mist and shadows, a haunting melody that drifts across the water in the quiet hours of night. As darkness deepens along the banks, the cries may begin again, soft and distant. The mist thickens, and the river glows faintly under the moonlight. Small ripples travel across the water, and the faint scent of damp earth fills the air. The sobbing child remains, a spectral figure at the edge of perception. A reminder that the Big Black River carries more than water. That it holds memory, sorrow, and the unending echo of a child's voice, calling across the night. The Coldwater River winds through dense forests and misty wetlands, its waters dark and reflective under the fading light of evening. The gentle current carries fallen leaves, branches, and the faint scent of damp earth. Along its banks, ancient trees rise like silent sentinels, their roots curling into the river, as if keeping watch over the quiet passage of time. It is here that witnesses speak of a canoe gliding across the water, moving without a single human hand at the paddle. The vessel appears in the twilight, its shape faint against the Rivera's surface. Observers describe shadowy figures seated within, paddling silently, their forms indistinct yet unmistakable. The canoe drifts with the current, moving smoothly, almost deliberately, as if guided by an unseen force. Those who have seen the phenomenon report an eerie stillness. No sound of oars breaking the water, no splash, no rustle of movement. Only the faint outline of figures, dark and shapeless, casting long shadows across the rippling water. Some describe feeling a chill in the air, a sudden hush that falls over the river as if the world itself pauses to witness the apparition. As if the world itself pauses to witness the apparition. Approaching the canoe proves impossible. As anyone nears, the vessel and its occupants vanish, leaving only the gentle lapping of the river and the fading impression of movement. A moment that seems to exist between reality and memory. The river itself adds to the mystique. Fog often rolls across the surface, thick and opaque, muting colors and sounds. Sunlight filters through the canopy during the day, casting patterns of light and shadow that shift with the water. These natural effects make the appearance of the phantom canoe both mesmerizing and unsettling, as it blends seamlessly into the environment while defying explanation. Local legends attempt to explain the sightings. Some say the canoe carries spirits of travelers lost on the river centuries ago. Souls drawn back to the water that claimed them. Others believe it is a remnant of old river life. A spectral reminder of the countless journeys made by those who relied on the river for trade, transport, and survival. Each story adds depth to the haunting presence, giving the apparition a history that reaches back through time. Eyewitnesses often speak of a sense of being watched when the canoe appears. It is as if the shadowy figures acknowledge the living, observing without interaction. Maintaining a boundary between the known and the unknown. The feeling is not malevolent, but it is profound, a reminder of forces that exist beyond human perception. The river at night intensifies the experience. Sounds carried differently, with distant frogs, rustling leaves, and water movement amplified in the quiet darkness. Within this setting, the phantom canoe becomes more than a visual phenomenon. It is an encounter that engages all the senses, leaving observers with a lingering impression of mystery and awe. Some theorists suggest natural explanations, such as fog illusions or the reflection of distant lights. But witnesses insist on the clarity and distinctness of the figures. The canoe moves with purpose, not at the whim of wind or current. And the presence of humanoid shapes within cannot be explained by natural phenomena alone. The consistency of reports over decades adds weight to the enduring mystery. The Coldwater River has always been a place of life and passage. Fishermen, travelers, and explorers have traversed its waters for generations, leaving behind stories, memories, and occasionally, unexplained occurrences. The phantom canoe joins this long history, becoming part of the narrative of the river, a haunting that blends seamlessly with the natural beauty and quiet power of the waterway. Those who witness the canoe often describe a mixture of emotions: awe, fear, curiosity, and wonder. The sight challenges understanding, inviting contemplation of what exists beyond the ordinary. The fleeting appearance leaves a lasting mark, prompting reflection on the boundary between the living and the unseen, the tangible and the ethereal. The river carries on, indifferent to human presence. Its waters continue to flow, to whisper, and to reflect the sky above. Yet somewhere along the bends and shadows, the phantom canoe glides silently, a reminder of lives, stories, and mysteries that remain suspended between the past and present. As night deepens, the river darkens and the air grows colder. The canoe may appear again, silently navigating the current. Its shadowy figures eternally bound to the water. A vision of movement without motion, presence without explanation. A fleeting bridge between the known world and that which lingers just beyond perception. The Coldwater River, with its phantom canoe, endures as a place of quiet wonder and mystery. It reminds those who witness it that some forces, some stories, and some presences remain beyond understanding, yet are impossible to forget. The river flows on, carrying its secrets, and the canoe drifts eternally, a silent keeper of the unseen and the extraordinary. The Tallahatchie River winds through the landscape, its waters dark and reflective under the late afternoon sun. By day, it carries the rhythm of life, boats gliding across its surface, birds dipping to drink, and the occasional fisherman casting a line. Yet as evening approaches and the light softens, the river seems to change. Shadows lengthen along the banks, and a quiet tension settles into the air, as if the waters themselves remember stories long past. Locals speak of a young couple who drowned in the river many decades ago. Their love was forbidden, a quiet defiance of families and circumstance, and they chose to meet along the water's edge. One fateful evening, the river claimed them both, leaving only sorrow and whispered tales in its wake. Since then, those who venture to the banks after dusk sometimes report seeing two figures walking hand in hand along the shore, moving with a calm familiarity that contrasts with the unsettled air around them. The figures appear slowly at first, shapes emerging from the mist that rises off the water. They are always close, holding hands as they wander along the riverbank. Observers often describe a gentle grace to their movements, as if time itself bends around them. The couple seems completely absorbed in each other, unaware of the living world nearby. Boats drift closer, footsteps approach, yet when anyone moves to meet them, the lovers vanish as one, leaving the shore empty and the river calm once again. There is a particular stillness that accompanies their appearance. The water seems darker, reflecting the figures with an almost spectral clarity. A soft wind carries the faintest whisper of laughter or conversation, fleeting enough that it could be mistaken for imagination. The riverbank, lined with trees and reeds, holds a sense of expectation, as though the land itself pauses to witness the fleeting reunion of the drowned lovers. Stories from those who have seen the couple vary, yet common threads emerge. The figures are young, dressed in clothing that hints at the era in which they lived. Their faces serene yet unreadable. They do not speak to the living, nor do they acknowledge attempts to approach. Some claim the figures drift just above the ground, as if suspended between this world and the next, moving with a quiet purpose that is both haunting and tender. The river holds its own secrets. Fog rolls in from the water, curling around the trees and obscuring the far bank. Moonlight glimmers across the surface, giving the illusion of movement where none exists. The soft rush of water over hidden stones adds a rhythm to the night, almost like a heartbeat echoing the story of the lovers. Each sighting feels intimate, as if the river has chosen a witness to share a moment from a past that refuses to be forgotten. Some visitors describe a strange sense of connection when the figures appear. There is a quiet melancholy in their presence, a reminder of love interrupted and lives lost too soon. The river, in this way, becomes more than water and current. Transforms into a living memory, a vessel for the enduring bond of two souls that could not be separated even by death. Those who encounter the couple often leave with a lingering awareness, a mix of sorrow and awe, and a renewed sense that some stories refuse to end. The phenomenon has been reported across different stretches of the river, from quiet bends to narrow passages shaded by trees. Each account adds to the collective legend of the Tallahatchie, painting a portrait of the drowned lovers that is vivid and consistent. Witnesses often speak of the temperature dropping slightly as the figures appear, of the fog thickening as though the air itself is participating in their presence. It is a subtle, chilling reminder that the river carries both life and memory, flowing beyond the reach of the living yet never forgetting those it has claimed. Over time, the story has woven itself into the identity of the region. Residents speak of it with reverence, cautioning visitors to respect the river and the spirits that linger there. The drowned lovers have become symbols, not only of tragic romance but of the power of memory and the persistence of love. They remind those who see them that some bonds endure beyond the limitations of time, place, and even mortality itself. As the night deepens, the figures are rarely seen for long. They wander, hand in hand, following paths etched by their past lives. Until they fade into the darkness together. The river returns to its quiet rhythm. The mist disperses, and only the faintest traces remain. Footprints do not mark the sand, and the water offers no clue. Yet those who have seen the lovers know the truth of their presence. The Tallahatchie River flows on, carrying its waters to distant horizons. Beneath the moonlight, along the fog-laden banks, the drowned lovers may appear again. Walking side by side, connected by a bond that death could not sever. They vanish as silently as they arrive, leaving the shore empty. And the living to wonder at the quiet, enduring power of love. And the mysteries that linger along the river. The Sunflower River winds quietly through the Mississippi Delta, its waters reflecting the deep hues of the setting sun. By day, the banks are serene, lined with cottonwoods and willows that sway gently in the breeze. The air is filled with the songs of birds and the soft rustle of reeds along the shore. But as night falls, the river reveals a different presence, one that carries the weight of history and echoes of a past long gone. Along the riverbanks, a soldier sometimes appears. Clad in the uniform of the Civil War, his posture is stiff, and his movements deliberate. His boots leaving no mark on the soft soil, as though the earth refuses to record his passage. Observers report feeling a shift in the air when he is near, a sudden chill that raises goosebumps and carries the faint scent of smoke and gunpowder. Footsteps echo behind him, soft but distinct, mingling with the gentle lapping of water against the shore. Some travelers have described hearing the distant sound of a bugle, calling across the night, hauntingly clear yet impossibly far away. It is a sound that seems to come from another time, a reminder of battles fought and lives lost along these very banks. The soldier's presence is quiet, yet commanding. Witnesses often report a sense of being watched, a subtle tension that heightens with each passing minute. Even the wind seems to pause in his presence, carrying only the faint rustle of leaves and the soft, distant murmur of water. His gaze can be felt, lingering as if measuring those who dare walk the river after dark. Some believe the soldier is searching, retracing steps from a night long ago. Others think he is bound to the river, a spirit caught between duty and rest. Replaying the movements of his final hours. Whatever the truth, those who encounter him feel the weight of history. A reminder that the past is never fully gone. And that the echoes of conflict linger quietly in the world around us. The river itself seems alive with memory. Mist rises in the darkness, curling around tree trunks and drifting over the water's surface. Shadows stretch unnaturally under the moonlight, forming shapes that vanish as quickly as they appear. The sound of insects and distant frogs grows muted when the soldier is near, leaving only the subtle rhythm of water and the occasional whisper of fabric brushing against air. Witnesses describe fleeting glimpses of the soldier. He may appear standing at the water's edge, staring into the current as if recalling a memory, then slowly vanish when observed directly. At times, the bugle sounds again, mournful and solitary, before fading into the night. Travelers report a mix of awe and unease, caught between fascination and the instinctive urge to leave. Stories of the restless soldier have circulated for generations. Locals warn those unfamiliar with the river to be cautious after dark, though they rarely speak of any harm. The soldier's presence is not malevolent, but it is undeniable. He is a reminder of the lives intertwined with the river, of battles fought and sacrifices made. The riverbanks, once scenes of strategy and conflict, now serve as a quiet stage where history silently repeats itself. Those who have encountered the soldier often recount the experience with reverence. The moonlight reflecting off the river. The sound of unseen footsteps. And the faint bugle call remain vivid in memory long after leaving the banks. An unspoken acknowledgement of courage, duty, and the lingering presence of those who gave everything. Even when the soldier vanishes, the river retains a charged atmosphere. The air feels heavier, colder, and filled with the intangible weight of remembrance. The rustling of leaves and the gentle ripple of water serve as subtle reminders that the past continues to speak to the present. Travelers leave the banks quietly, carrying with them the memory of a soldier bound to the Sunflower River, forever patrolling the edge of history and shadow. On nights when the fog hangs low and the moon casts pale light over the water, the soldier can appear again. He may walk along the shore or stand silently among the trees. A figure of duty and sorrow, caught between two worlds. The bugle may sound, a lonely call that pierces the darkness. Or his footsteps may echo softly across the riverbank, heard by those who listen carefully. The restless soldier of the Sunflower River is more than a ghostly figure. He is a living memory, a bridge to the past. That reminds all who encounter him of the courage, loss, and enduring presence of history. For those who witness it, the experience is unforgettable, a haunting and profound connection to a story that continues beneath the moonlit waters and among the shadows of the Sunflower River. The Bog-Chitto River winds its way through dense forests and rolling hills, its waters glinting under the afternoon sun. The air carries the scent of pine and damp earth, and the sound of the river flowing over rocks and roots creates a steady, calming rhythm. By day, the area seems peaceful, inviting hikers and nature enthusiasts to wander along its banks. But as twilight approaches, the atmosphere shifts, taking on a weight that is difficult to explain. Locals and hikers have long shared stories of a man who vanished near the river years ago. He was said to enjoy long walks along the trails, disappearing into the trees for hours at a time. One day, he never returned. Despite search parties and hours spent combing the riverbanks, no trace of him was ever found. Yet those familiar with the river claim that he never truly left. Visitors report strange sightings along the trail. In the fading light of evening, a figure may appear in the distance, standing motionless among the trees. The man is often seen wearing a hiking jacket, his posture relaxed, almost casual. But when approached, the figure vanishes without a sound, leaving only the whisper of leaves in the wind and the faint echo of footsteps that were never there. The vanishing Hikara's appearances are subtle and fleeting. Sometimes he is glimpsed along the riverbank, staring into the flowing water as if waiting for something lost long ago. Witnesses describe an eerie sensation, a feeling of being observed, though no eyes meet theirs and no voice speaks. The effect is unsettling, a quiet awareness that the river holds secrets beyond what can be seen. Many who encounter the ghostly figure report a sense of copyright déjà vu, as if they are retracing the steps of someone long gone. Some feel compelled to follow the figure along the trail, only to find that the path ahead appears empty, the man nowhere in sight. Occasionally, small disturbances suggest his presencia, a rock rolling gently in the underbrush, a branch swaying though no breeze moves it. These subtle signs heighten the sense of mystery, reinforcing the legend of the vanishing hiker who walks unseen among the living. The river itself seems to respond to the story. On misty mornings, the water glows softly, reflecting the trees in distorted, shimmering shapes. Shadows stretch across the banks, shifting as though alive. And the sound of distant splashes may echo in moments of silence. It is in these conditions that the hiker is most often reported, a spectral figure blending into the natural landscape, moving with the rhythm of the forest, and yet remaining apart from it. Hikers speak of feeling a quiet presence behind them, a faint pressure that is not physical but perceptible in the mind. They describe an urge to turn, a sense that Sumania or something is observing from just beyond the tree line. When they do turn, the figure is gone, leaving only the rustle of leaves and the occasional ripple in the river. The experience is brief yet profound, a reminder of the unknown that lingers in the world around them. The vanishing hiker's story has been passed down through local communities, becoming part of the folklore of the Bog-Chitto River. He is remembered not as a malevolent spirit but as a lingering presence, a reminder of the fragility of life. And the mysteries that rivers and forests carry, evoking a deep, contemplative uneasia, a feeling that some stories and some souls are meant to be witnessed but never touched. Even years after the man's disappearance, hikers continue to share encounters with his ghostly form. Some describe him standing silently, gazing across the river as though searching for something lost. A lantern of memory in the dimming light. Others recount glimpsing him on narrow trails, vanishing into the shadows before they can fully comprehend what they have seen. These accounts, consistent in their details yet varied in experience, sustain the legend of the Bogue Chitto Rivera's phantom hiker. The forest and river seem to guard him, keeping the memory alive. The sound of flowing water, the whisper of leaves, the soft movement of wildlife. The whisper of leaves, the soft movement of wildlife all. The soft movement of wildlife all contribute to the sense that he is still there. He is still there, moving just out of reach, watching silently. As though witnessing a life suspended between the natural world and something beyond it. Hikers who have felt his presence often describe a lingering emotion, a blend of curiosity and respect, as though witnessing a life suspended between the natural world and something beyond it. As night falls, the river darkens, and the forest absorbs the fading light. The ghostly hiker may appear once more, standing along the trail or by the riverbank, his figure blending with the mist and shadows. Those who witness him feel a quiet connection to the story, a fleeting brush with the unknown. The Bogue Chitto River carries him still, a spectral presence bound to the trails and waters, the vanishing hiker who watches, waits, and walks among the living and the unseen. The Chitto River winds quietly through thick forests and low-lying wetlands, its waters dark and reflective under the shifting light of dusk. Mist rises from the surface, curling and twisting like smoke, blurring the edges of trees and riverbanks. The air carries a damp, earthy scent, and the faint rustle of leaves hints at unseen creatures moving through the underbrush. It is along this river that witnesses describe an extraordinary sight, a horse and rider appearing seemingly from the fog itself. The animal is large and dark, its hooves striking the ground with a rhythm that echoes across the quiet riverbank. The rider sits tall and silent, a figure indistinct yet undeniably human in form. Their passage is swift, almost effortless, moving along the water's edge with a fluidity that seems to defy ordinary motion. Observers often speak of the surreal stillness that accompanies the apparition. The sound of hooves on the soft earth carries clearly, yet there is no splash in the river, no disturbance of the surrounding vegetation. The fog shifts around the pair, parting momentarily to reveal them before swallowing them again. It is a vision that feels both immediate and impossibly distant, as if existing between two worlds. Approaching the spectral horse proves impossible. The moment anyone tries to close the distance, leaving only the swirling fog and the lingering impression of movement. Some report glimpsing the outline of the figure disappearing into the mist. A shadow dissolving into the atmosphere as if it had never been there, leaving witnesses with a mixture of awe and unease. The river and its surroundings heighten the sense of mystery. Trees bend over the water, their branches creating intricate patterns against the fading light. Moonlight or the glow of sunset glints off the rippling surface, casting reflections that shift with every subtle movement. The fog thickens unpredictably, hiding the banks and waterway from view, creating a landscape that is both beautiful and disorienting. Local legends speak of the phantom horse as the spirit of a rider lost to the river long ago. Some say it is a soldier, eternally patrolling the land where he once rode, bound to the river for reasons unknown. Others suggest it is a restless soul searching for companions, forever galloping along the banks but never making contact with the living. These stories have been passed down for generations, intertwining history, folklore, and personal testimony. Witnesses describe an intense sense of being observed. The Ritera's figure seems to regard the living with quiet awareness, acknowledging their presence without engagement. It is not threatening, yet it carries a profound weight. A reminder of forces that operate outside human understanding. The phantom horse becomes a fleeting connection to a hidden world. A glimpse of the extraordinary within the familiar landscape of the river. Even in the daytime, the Homichito River holds a certain quiet majesty. The water moves steadily, carrying fallen leaves, reeds, and reflections downstream. Birds call intermittently, and the occasional fish breaks the surface. But these mundane details are quickly overshadowed by the memory of the apparition. Those who have seen it speak of the river differently afterward. As a place where the ordinary and the mysterious coexist seamlessly. Nightfall brings another layer to the experience. Fog becomes thicker, shadows lengthen. And sounds are amplified in the silence. The wind through the trees carries strange echoes. Sometimes interpreted as whispers or distant calls. In this setting, the phantom horse takes on an almost cinematic quality. A figure of myth moving through a living landscape. That feels both real and surreal at the same time. Some skeptics offer natural explanations, attributing sightings to misperceptions in the fog or reflections along the water. Yet repeated reports over decades describe consistent details, the rhythm of hooves, the posture of the rider, the manner in which they vanish. These accounts give the phenomenon credibility in the eyes of those who have experienced it firsthand. The phantom horse of the Homichito River has become part of the identity of the region. Stories are shared by locals and travelers alike, each retelling adding nuance and depth to the legend. It is a symbol of the unseen, a reminder that landscapes hold memories. And that some presences linger long after life has passed. Observers leave the riverbank with a lingering sense of wonder and contemplation. The sight of the horse and rider touches something deep within the imagination. A recognition that not all experiences can be explained. And that some mysteries remain deliberately beyond reach. The river continues to flow, carrying its secrets. While the phantom horse runs eternally along its foggy banks. A guardian of stories untold. A vision suspended between the tangible and the ethereal. The Homichito River endures, timeless and enigmatic. The water moves forward, the mist shifts. And somewhere along the banks, the spectral horse and rider gallop silently. They vanish into the fog, leaving behind only memory, impression, and the quiet knowledge that some forces, some stories, and some presences remain beyond understanding, yet impossible to forget. The Hachi River winds quietly through the landscape, its waters reflecting the dim glow of the moon. By day, the river is calm and serene, teeming with life and the gentle sounds of water against the banks. Yet as night falls, a different presence seems to awaken. The air grows cooler, the trees whisper with the wind, and the river carries with it an uneasy stillness. As though holding its breath in anticipation. Locals tell of a woman who vanished along the river many years ago. She was known for her kindness and grace, yet one night she disappeared without a trace, leaving only sorrow in her wake. Since that time, those who wander near the river after dark sometimes hear faint whispers, delicate and almost imperceptible, rising from the waters. These sounds are unlike the wind or rustling leaves, carrying a tone of longing and quiet warning. Visitors who have encountered her describe the experience as both haunting and gentle. The whispers seem to float across the river, circling the observer, speaking in a language just beyond comprehension. Some report feeling a cold brush against their shoulder, a sensation as fleeting as it is unmistakable. It is never threatening, yet it leaves an indelible impression, a reminder that the river holds more than water and stone. The woman's presence is subtle but persistent. Her figure is rarely seen, yet the energy she leaves behind can be felt by those attentive to the Rivera's secrets. Moonlight glints off the water, and in the corner of Oni's vision, a shadow might flit past, lingering just long enough to provoke curiosity and unease. Her whispers seem to respond to the living, drawing attention to the Rivera's edge, where fog drifts and the trees bend over the current, casting long, ghostly shapes on the ground. The river itself seems to remember her, carrying her story in the movement of its waters. Gentle ripples form patterns as if she has walked along the banks. And the air often feels heavier near certain bends, as though she pauses there still. Many who have ventured to the river late at night speak of a sudden drop in temperature, a shiver that runs deeper than the evening chill, accompanying the faint sound of her voice. Some describe her whispers as warnings, others as faint calls for companionship. The descriptions vary, yet the essence remains the same, a presence tied to loss, longing, and the enduring connection to a place once known and never fully left. The river becomes a stage, a silent witness to her story, where the living may glimpse her echo but never the full reality of her existence. Fog frequently rises from the hatchie, curling around the trees and riverbanks. Shapes form within the mist, hinting at movement that disappears the moment one focuses. The whispers grow clearer at these moments, drifting along with the fog, as if guiding visitors or sharing secrets too delicate for the ears of the uninvited. The combination of sound, shadow, and chill transforms the river into a living memory, a place where the past and present meet in quiet tension. Those who have spent time along the river describe a feeling of being watched, not in malice, but in quiet observation. The whispers seem to know when someone is present, adjusting in tone and volume, almost as though the woman is acknowledging their presence. A single word may rise above the others, indecipherable yet familiar, leaving visitors with the sense that the river is alive with memory, and that the woman remains entwined with its currents. Over the years, many accounts have built a legend that endures. Fishermen, hikers, and late-night travelers alike have shared stories of hearing whispers and feeling unseen touches. Though the details differ, the recurring theme is the same. A woman whose spirit lingers, a voice carried on the waters, and a reminder of the fragile boundary between life and the unseen. The Hatchie River continues to flow, serene yet watchful. On fog-laden nights, the whispers return, soft and haunting, guiding the curious or the respectful toward the Rivera's edge. Those who hear them speak of a profound mixture of awe and melancholy, a connection to a story that has persisted through time. Even as the wind rustles through the trees and the water laps gently against the shore, the sense of presence remains, a quiet testament to a life remembered and a spirit unforgotten. As the night deepens, the whispers fade, leaving the river calm once more. The chill lingers in the air, and the fog slowly lifts, revealing the silent reflection of the moon on the water. The woman's presence may vanish, but the memory of her story remains imprinted on the riverbanks. Visitors leave with the sense that the Hatchie is more than a river. It is a keeper of tales, a conduit for voices long gone, and a silent guardian of the whispers that drift across its waters, waiting for those who listen carefully enough to hear them. The Tallahatchie River winds slowly through the Mississippi Delta, its waters dark and reflective under the light of the moon. By day, the landscape seems peaceful, lined with trees and soft grasses that sway in the gentle breeze. The old bridge stretches across the river, weathered by years of storms and time, its wooden planks creaking under the weight of history. As night falls, the atmosphere changes. Shadows gather along the banks, and the air grows heavy with an unspoken tension. Locals speak of a figure that appears near the bridge after dark. It is said to hang from a rope, swaying gently, yet when approached, the figure vanishes, leaving only silence and a faint chill that lingers in the night air. The bridge itself seems to hold memories, each beam and plank a witness to events long past. The faint sound of footsteps sometimes echoes across the wooden boards, though no one is there. The wind whispers through the cables and trees, carrying with it a sense of sorrow, a weight that feels both ancient and immediate. Witnesses describe the spirit as motionless yet alive with presence. The rope swings gently as though moved by an invisible hand, and the figure seems caught between this world and another. There is a lingering sadness in the air. A quiet reminder of lives lost and moments frozen in time. The river beneath the bridge flows steadily, reflecting the moonlight and casting long shadows along its banks. Mist often rises from the water in the early hours of the night, curling around the bridge and partially obscuring the view. It is in this fog that the figure is most often seen, a ghostly presence that materializes briefly before dissolving into the darkness. Stories have circulated for generations. Travelers report feeling a sudden coldness when they near the bridge, accompanied by a profound sense of being watched. Some speak of hearing soft creaks or the faint sound of a rope swinging, as though the spirit's presence is rehearsed endlessly in the quiet of the night. The air itself seems charged, carrying with it echoes of the past that few can explain. Carrying with it echoes of the past that few can explain. The figure has become part of the bridge, a silent observer that reminds all who come near that history lingers in unexpected ways. Even when it vanishes, the bridge feels different, the atmosphere heavier, as if the night itself remembers the events that gave rise to this haunting. Shadows stretch across the planks, the trees seem to bend closer, and the wind carries whispers that cannot be understood but are felt deeply. Visitors who witness the figure often recount their experiences with a mixture of fascination and unease. The sight of a hanging form, suspended in the moonlight, is fleeting yet unforgettable. The swing of the rope, the stillness of the figure, and the quiet presence that follows leave a lasting impression. Even after leaving the bridge, the memory persists, a reminder that some places hold on to the past more tightly than others. Over the years, the Tallahatchie River Bridge has attracted those drawn to its mystery. Photographers, travelers, and the curious venture to the site, hoping to glimpse the spirit. Hoping to glimpse the spirit. Many leave with stories of a fleeting figure, a rope swaying silently, and a sense of time bending around them. The bridge becomes more than wood and nails, it is a space where the line between the living and the spectral is thin. Where the river reflects not only moonlight but also memory. The spirit's presence is not violent, yet it commands respect. Yet it commands respect. It seems to embody the sorrow and gravity of lives intertwined with the bridge and the river. Those who approach with caution often feel an almost sacred silence. A momentary connection to something beyond comprehension. The night air is filled with subtle sounds that remind visitors they are not entirely alone. The Tallahatchie River flows onward, constant and unyielding, while the bridge remains a threshold where the past lingers. Shadows rise and fall with the moon, and the figure may appear again, swaying gently from the rope, silent yet present. The haunting is never fully explained, and perhaps it should not be. The mystery is part of the Bridge's identity, a timeless story woven into its beams and boards. To witness the hanging spirit is to encounter history in motion, to feel the echo of lives that came before. To sense the enduring presence of sorrow and remembrance. For those who walk the bridge at night, the experience is unforgettable, leaving a lingering sense of awe, reverence, and quiet wonder. Beneath the moonlit sky of the Tallahatchie River, the Wolf Creek winds through a dense forest, its waters dark and cold, reflecting the shadows of towering pines along its banks. Mist often rises from the river, curling around the trees and drifting across the water. It is in this mist that stories of the phantom cabin have persisted for decades, whispered by locals and travelers who have glimpsed something out of place, something that seems alive yet belongs to a time long past. The cabin sits alone on a small rise beside the river. Locals claim it has been abandoned for decades, left to the forest and the elements. Yet those who venture near report seeing lights flickering through the windows. At night, shadows moving within as though the house is occupied. The lights are not constant, sometimes appearing suddenly in the mist, then vanishing as quickly as they came. Visitors describe a heavy, almost tangible presence around the cabin. The air feels charged, as if time itself slows in its proximity. A faint warmth may brush against the skin, though the temperature of the night remains cold. Some have heard the soft creak of floorboards, the opening and closing of doors, even though the building is empty and unstable. These subtle signs give the impression of life where none should exist, a haunting that is quiet yet impossible to ignore. The origins of the cabin are shrouded in mystery. Old maps mark it as the homestead of a family who lived in the area over a century ago. Stories tell of a sudden disappearance, a tragedy that left the home empty. Yet the forest seems unwilling to let the history fade. The mist and the shadows have preserved a fragment of the past, replaying scenes of the cabin as it once was, caught between memory and reality. Those who approach the cabin at dusk often report a sense of being watched. Shadows appear behind trees and in corners, flickering like reflections of people long gone. Sometimes a faint figure can be glimpsed through the windows, moving as if tending to the home. When approached directly, the figure disappears, leaving only the stillness of the forest and the distant sound of the river flowing. The effect is unsettling, a reminder that some spaces hold stories that refuse to rest. The cabina's presence is both captivating and unnerving. Visitors feel drawn to it, compelled to investigate, yet instinctively hesitant. The mist swirls around the foundation, and the forest seems to shift subtly, hiding trails and opening new paths as though guiding observers without revealing all at once. Footsteps on the surrounding earth sometimes echo unnaturally, or fail to echo at all, leaving a dissonance that unsettles the mind. Locals share accounts of lights appearing in patterns, sometimes glowing from room to room, other times stationary in one window. The effect is fleeting, yet the memory lingers long after leaving the riverbank. Some claim to hear voices murmuring in the night, soft conversations that vanish when they strain to understand. Others report glimpses of a figure sitting on the porch, staring into the dark water, only to vanish into the mist as they blink. The forest itself seems to protect the cabin, creating an environment where reality bends subtly. Trees shift in ways that make paths appear and disappear, fog drifts in unnatural currents. Travelers describe a sense of being part of a story, of walking through a scene that has replayed countless times yet never quite the same way twice. The phantom cabin exists as a memory anchored in place, waiting for those who wander too close to perceive it. Even during daylight, the cabin exerts an influence. Its silhouette emerges from the mist on foggy mornings, windows dark and empty. Yet the air feels different, heavier, carrying a whisper of the past. Birds avoid its immediate vicinity, and small animals seem hesitant to approach. The sense of history is palpable, a layering of life that once existed and continues to echo through time. Preserved in the structure and the surrounding forest. Those who have spent time near the cabin often describe a mixture of awe and unease. There is a pull toward understanding, a desire to witness what lingers within. Yet an instinctive recognition that some mysteries are not meant to be solved. The cabin stands as a sentinel, a reminder of the past and its persistent presence. Caught between the tangible and the spectral, the seen and the unseen. This is a reminder of the past and its persistent presence, caught between the tangible and the spectral, the seen and the unseen. As night falls fully and the mist thickens, the phantom cabin seems to awaken. Lights may flicker in the windows once more, shadows may dance along the interior walls. And faint sounds of movement drift on the breeze. Those who pause and watch, careful not to disturb the scene, feel a quiet connection to the history and the lingering spirits. A fleeting glimpse of a time and presence that continues to inhabit Wolf Creek. A time and presence that continues to inhabit Wolf Creek. The phantom cabin at Wolf Creek endures as a testament to the persistence of memory and the power of place. It is a structure abandoned by the living yet alive in perception, a haunting that is gentle, mysterious, and endlessly compelling. Those who encounter it leave with a sense of wonder, a reminder that the world still holds spaces where the past lingers, waiting quietly for anyone who dares to look closely and see what is hidden in the mist. The Coldwater Bend curves gently through dense forests, its waters dark and slow-moving. Mist rises from the surface as evening falls, clinging to the riverbank and drifting across the water. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and fallen leaves, and the soft croak of frogs echoes in the distance. Shadows stretch across the bend, and the fading light gives the landscape a hushed, almost sacred stillness. It is here that witnesses describe an unsettling sight. A rowboat drifts along the river with no one inside. The vessel moves as if guided by an unseen hand, cutting silently through the water toward the shore. Its wooden hull rocks unnaturally, dipping and swaying with a rhythm that suggests a rower still sits within, though none can be seen. Observers speak of a chilling presence surrounding the boat. The sound of oars dipping into the water is faint but persistent, echoing across the bend. The air grows cooler, and a sense of quiet anticipation hangs over the scene, as though the river itself is holding its breath. The motion of the boat is fluid, yet strangely deliberate, as if it carries a purpose beyond ordinary understanding. Approaching the rowboat often proves impossible. Those who attempt to reach it report sudden changes in the water's movement. Subtle currents pushing the vessel just out of reach. Shadows shift on the shore. And the mist thickens, obscuring the view and giving the impression that the boat exists in a separate layer of reality. It is both part of the river and apart from it, moving under rules unseen by the living. The riverbank adds to the atmosphere of mystery. Trees lean toward the water, their branches forming dark arches. Fallen logs and reeds create natural barriers that frame the Waterways passage, emphasizing its solitary journey. Witnesses often describe a feeling of being observed, as though the rowboat itself carries the gaze of a hidden presence. Local legends speak of the ghostly rowboat as the spirit of someone lost to the river long ago. Some say it belongs to a fisherman who never returned home, condemned to drift forever along Coldwater Bend. Others suggest the boat carries a soul searching for closure, rowing endlessly toward a destination that cannot be reached. The stories vary, but each reinforces the sense of something lingering beyond the ordinary. A presence that moves with purpose yet remains untouchable. Sightings are often accompanied by other phenomena. Sounds of water lapping against the boat are accompanied by faint whispers. The movement of reeds without wind. And sudden chills in the air. The fog thickens unexpectedly, muffling distant sounds and heightening the sense of isolation. The boat glides silently through these layers, its motion hypnotic and mesmerizing. Witnesses are drawn into its path, unable to look away, yet cautious to maintain distance. Even in daylight, the Coldwater Bend retains its quiet, eerie beauty. The water shimmers under the sun, reflecting the surrounding forest and sky. Birds call intermittently, and insects hum among the reeds. Yet the memory of the ghostly rowboat lingers, altering perception of the bend. The river seems to carry an unspoken story, a narrative of loss, persistence, and mystery that exists beneath the surface of the everyday world. Skeptics offer explanations, suggesting currents, wind, or optical illusions create the appearance of movement. Yet repeated reports describe consistent details: the rocking of the boat, the sound of oars, the impossible clarity of its path. These accounts lend weight to the phenomenon, confirming that there is something more than natural forces at work. Night brings an even deeper layer of atmosphere. Moonlight reflects on the water, and shadows stretch across the bend. The Waterways silhouette becomes more pronounced, cutting through the mist like a phantom shape. The rocking is more noticeable, almost as if the unseen rower is aware of observers. Sounds that were faint in daylight intensify, echoing across the river and creating a sense of presence that is tangible yet intangible. The ghostly rowboat has become part of the identity of Coldwater Bend. Stories are shared by locals and travelers, each retelling adding subtle variations and new details. It is remembered not just as a haunting, but as a reminder of the Rivera's hidden depths, of lives once present and now lingering. The phenomenon transforms an ordinary bend into a place of wonder, reflection, and awe. Visitors leave with a lingering sense of mystery. The rowboat glides in memory as much as on the water. A vessel carrying echoes of the past. The river continues to flow, unhurried, its surface broken only by the occasional ripple of wind or the faint trace of wildlife. Somewhere along its course, the ghostly rowboat drifts onward, rocking silently, a presence that is never seen in full, yet never forgotten. Coldwater Bend endures as a place where reality and legend meet. The river moves forward, carrying its hidden stories, while the spectral rowboat drifts between water and mist, present yet untouchable, silent yet insistent. A reminder that some mysteries remain, quietly persistent, eternally drifting along the Rivera's edge. The Pearl River Delta stretches into the night, its waters calm yet reflective of the moon's faint glow. By day, the river moves steadily, carrying boats and fishermen across its vast expanse. Yet when darkness falls, the landscape transforms. Mist rises from the water, curling around the riverbanks and the skeletal forms of old piers. The air grows cooler, carrying the scent of salt and damp wood. Somewhere along this stretch, an old lighthouse stands, silent and weathered, watching over waters that no longer carry ships in need of guidance. Locals speak of a lighthouse keeper who tended the light decades ago. He was known for his dedication, ensuring that the beacon never failed, regardless of storm or tide. One night, he disappeared without a trace, leaving only the lighthouse and the memory of his vigilant presence. Since then, visitors and night travelers along the delta tell of seeing a figure ascending the narrow stairs of the lighthouse. A solitary shadow moving steadily upward, as if completing a duty that time itself has forgotten. The figure is described as tall and silent, carrying the quiet authority of someone accustomed to responsibility. Moonlight glints off the weathered railing and illuminates fleeting glimpses of the keeper's outline. Sometimes, the light at the top flickers on its own, not to guide ships, but to mark the rhythm of his unseen steps. It moves with deliberate care, turning slowly and scanning the horizon, as if watching for vessels long vanished from the delta. Travelers who approach the lighthouse at night report a mixture of awe and unease. The figure rarely responds, but his presence is tangible, filling the cold stone with an energy that is impossible to ignore. Footsteps echo along the spiral stairwell, soft yet persistent, carrying the weight of years spent tending the beacon. When visitors reach the base, the sound abruptly stops, leaving only silence and the faint smell of sea air. The keeper never answers questions, never acknowledges attention, yet he is always there, completing a task that has endured beyond life. The delta itself seems to acknowledge the presence of the keeper. The waves lap quietly at the shore, disturbed only by the occasional ripple from an unseen current. Mist swirls around the lighthouse, framing the figure in a veil of ethereal gray. The flickering light casts long, wavering shadows along the walls, turning the stone interior into a space that feels alive. As if the memories of the past linger in every corner. It is a place where time folds back on itself, allowing the living to glimpse the devotion of someone who has remained bound to duty even after death. Even after death itself, allowing the living to glimpse the devotion of someone who has remained bound to duty even after death itself, allowing the living to glimpse the devotion of someone who has remained bound to duty even after death itself, allowing the living to glimpse the devotion of someone who has remained bound to duty even after death itself allowing the living to glimpse the devotion of someone who has remained bound to duty even after death, itself allowing the living to glimpse the devotion of someone who has remained bound to duty even after death, itself allowing the living to glimpse the devotion of someone who has remained bound to duty even after death, itself allowing the living to glimpse the devotion of someone who has remained bound to duty even after death, itself allowing the living to glimpse the devotion of someone who has remained bound to duty even after death, itself allowing the living to glimpse the devotion of someone who has remained. Stories tell of the keeper's nightly routine, repeated faithfully through the years. Observers say the light moves in a pattern familiar to mariners of the past, though no ships sail here anymore. Sometimes, the figure is seen adjusting the lens, polishing the glass, or climbing to the observation platform to scan the horizon. Each movement is purposeful, precise, and deliberate. Those who have witnessed him describe a feeling of being watched not in malice, but with the focus of someone determined to fulfill a responsibility that transcends time. The lighthouse keeper's presence is not always visible. Often, a flicker of light atop the structure is all that hints at his vigil. Shadows dance across the walls and the mist outside, creating the illusion of movement even when the figure is absent. Some say that on particularly quiet nights, faint sounds of steps can be heard on the stairs, accompanied by the soft creak of the door at the top swinging in the wind. It is as if the lighthouse itself remembers, echoing the actions of a keeper who never left. Fog frequently rolls in from the delta, wrapping the lighthouse and surrounding shores in a thick, white shroud. Within this fog, the figure becomes harder to discern, yet the light continues to flicker, guiding no one, yet insisting on its presence. Visitors report sudden chills and the sensation of being observed as they walk along the water's edge. The keeper's energy seems to move through the space, leaving an impression of unwavering dedication, a testament to a duty that refuses to fade with time. The story of the lighthouse keeper has been passed down through generations. Fishermen, travelers, and those who explore the delta at night all share tales of seeing the solitary figure climbing the stairs. The light flashing in rhythm with his steps. Each account carries the same sense of reverence and mystery. A presence both comforting and haunting, a reminder of human devotion and the lingering echoes of lives once lived. As dawn approaches, the mist begins to lift, and the delta slowly awakens to the first light of day. The river glistens in the morning sun, calm and ordinary once more, yet the stories remain. The Pearl River Delta is more than a waterway. It is a repository of history, memory, and the unyielding presence of a lighthouse keeper who continues to watch over his post, guiding no ships, yet illuminating the boundary between the living and the unseen. The Yazoo Bend winds quietly through the Mississippi Delta, its waters dark and slow-moving under the fading light of dusk. By day, the landscape is serene, lined with cypress trees draped in Spanish moss and soft reeds that sway in the gentle breeze. Birds call across the river, and the air is heavy with the scent of water and earth. As night falls, the atmosphere shifts. Shadows stretch along the banks, and a heavy stillness settles over the bend. Locals tell of a figure that appears at night, a man seen screaming along the riverbank. His voice pierces the darkness, a raw and haunting sound that carries across the water. Yet when anyone approaches, the figure is gone, leaving only the echo of the scream fading into the wind. The river itself seems to hold its breath. The water laps gently at the shore, reflecting the pale moonlight as if aware of the presence nearby. Trees sway, their branches creaking, and the wind whispers through the leaves, carrying the sound of the scream in unpredictable ways. Sometimes it seems close, other times far away, always leaving a sense of unease that lingers long after the sound fades. Those who have witnessed the figure describe a sense of sudden isolation, as though the world around them has grown larger and emptier. The scream is not constant, but when it comes, it fills the night with a sharp tension. The man appears briefly, standing near the water, perhaps looking toward the river, or perhaps calling out to someone unseen. Then, in an instant, he disappears, leaving nothing behind but the trembling air and the echo of his voice. The bend itself feels timeless, a place where the natural world and the spectral coexist. The river curves quietly, reflecting the moon and stars, while the surrounding trees seem to bend toward the water as if drawn by the sound. The ground is soft, and the mud holds the impressions of past visitors and perhaps those who never left. Each scream seems tied to the place, as though it rises from the land itself, carrying stories of sorrow, loss, or unfinished business. Witnesses often speak of the sensation that the scream is meant to be heard, but never approached. A magnetic pull to the sound, a curiosity that draws listeners closer, but the moment someone tries to find its source, the figure vanishes. The scream remains, echoing along the banks, then fading into the dark, leaving the observer alone with the wind and the river. The sound seems to interact with the environment in strange ways. Bounces off the trees, mixes with the rustle of leaves, and sometimes seems to come from behind, only to vanish when turned toward. The river reflects the moonlight, yet even in the brightness, no figure is seen. Shadows play across the water and land, creating fleeting shapes that vanish the moment they are studied closely. Stories of the screaming figure have persisted for generations. Travelers report a sudden chill, a tightening of the air, and the unmistakable sound of a man crying out in anguish. Some have heard multiple screams in succession, as though the river itself is alive with voices from the past. Others have felt a heavy presence, a weight on their shoulders or in the air around them. Intangible but undeniable. The figure is never aggressive, yet the screams are enough to unsettle anyone who encounters them. It is a haunting that does not seek to harm, but to remind, to mark the night with a presence that is both sorrowful and mysterious. Those who linger after hearing the cries often report a lingering sense of unease, a memory of a voice carried over the river long after it has disappeared from sight. Even the wind seems to take part in the haunting. It shifts, rising and falling, guiding the sound along the water and through the trees. Sometimes close, sometimes distant, always leaving a feeling that the unseen man is near yet unreachable. The river, dark and quiet, mirrors the uncertainty of the night, holding the secrets of those who came before. Visitors who attempt to stay near the bend after nightfall often find themselves watching the river and banks for hours, drawn by the sound that seems to have no source. Some leave after a single scream, shaken but curious. Others return night after night, hoping to catch a glimpse of the figure, yet always finding only silence and the cold night air when they approach. Yazoo Bend becomes a place where time feels suspended. The river flows on, the trees sway in their ancient rhythm, and the moon traces its path across the sky. The screaming figure remains, tied to the riverbank, bound to the land and its memories. It is a haunting that exists in fleeting moments, a voice carried by wind and shadow, reminding all who hear it that some presences are meant to be heard but never touched. To hear the scream along the Yazoo Bend is to encounter a mystery as old as the river itself. It is a sound that evokes awe, fear, and curiosity. The night holds its secrets tightly, allowing only glimpses, echoes, and chills that follow visitors long after they have left the riverbank. The screaming figure is not merely a ghost, but a sentinel of the night, a reminder that some places carry the weight of sorrow, and some voices echo forever across the water. The Mississippi River bluffs rise steeply from the winding waters below, their edges softened by tall grasses and clusters of oak and maple trees. On clear days, the view stretches for miles, offering a peaceful panorama of the Riviera's silver surface reflecting sunlight. Locals speak of a strange phenomenon, a sight both charming and unsettling, where the past seems to return in full, spectral form. Visitors often report coming upon picnic tables perfectly arranged, blankets spread, baskets neatly placed as if awaiting a gathering. The setting is picturesque, almost idyllic, but there is something unusual about it. Plates and utensils remain spotless, untouched by the passage of time. And the air seems filled with faint murmurs of conversation and laughter. When approached, the scene changes, and the laughter disappears, leaving only the empty tables and the whispering wind. Those who have witnessed the phantom picnic describe seeing figures seated at the tables. They appear as men and women from decades past, dressed in period clothing, moving with an ease that suggests familiarity and comfort. Children play nearby, chasing invisible games through the grass, while adults engage in quiet conversation. The figures are detailed enough to be recognized as human yet intangible, shifting like mist when observers attempt to approach. The origin of the phenomenon remains unclear. Some suggest it is a lingering memory of gatherings that once took place on the bluffs. Celebrations and family outings repeated in spectral form. Others believe it may be the result of the energy left behind by moments of joy, echoing through time and manifesting in visual and auditory form. Whatever the cause, those who encounter the scene report a strong sense of nostalgia, tinged with a subtle unease, as if observing a world that exists alongside our own but cannot be fully entered. Evenings on the bluffs carry a unique ambience. The sun dips low, casting long shadows that weave between the trees. And across the picnic tables. A breeze stirs the leaves, creating soft rustling sounds that mingle with the laughter of unseen diners. Some visitors report the smell of freshly baked bread or sweet desserts carried faintly on the wind, enhancing the illusion of a complete gathering, making the experience both vivid and disorienting. Footsteps on the grass sometimes appear where no one is visible. Small impressions that vanish moments later. Children's laughter may sound nearby, then recede into silence, leaving only the echo in the mind. Occasionally, a chair may rock slightly as though someone has just risen, though the observer sees nothing. These subtle interactions suggest that the apparition is more than a visual trick, responding in ways that give it life and depth without ever revealing itself fully. Visitors attempting to photograph the scene often find their cameras fail to capture the figures. Images may show empty tables, blank landscapes, or strange blurs and shadows where the human forms were seen with the naked eye. The photographic anomaly adds to the mystery, reinforcing the impression that the experience exists outside normal perception, fleeting and untouchable, accessible only in the moment of observation. Locals who frequent the bluffs tell stories of encounters over the years. Couples strolling at dusk have paused to see the picnic in full swing, only to find themselves alone moments later. Families exploring the trails may hear the soft clinking of glasses or the distant strains of a song, though no source can be found. Even seasoned hikers familiar with the terrain speak of a sense of displacement, as if they have stepped into a memory or a parallel existence where time behaves differently. The phantom picnic is not frightening in a conventional sense. There is no threat, no malice. Instead, it evokes curiosity and wonder, drawing people to linger and observe. There is a haunting beauty in the scene, a reminder that human experiences leave traces that may endure beyond the limits of life and memory. Witnessing it can provoke reflection, a contemplation of the lives and moments that came before. And the idea that some joy is so potent it leaves a lingering presence in the world. As night falls, the mist often rises from the river, curling along the bluff edges and weaving through the trees. The picnic scene fades gradually, figures dissolving into the fog, laughter dissolving into silence, the tables left empty yet somehow charged with memory. Visitors may feel a chill, a subtle reminder of the ephemeral nature of the encounter. Yet they leave with a sense of having witnessed something extraordinary, a glimpse of a past preserved in spectral form, fleeting and eternal at once. The Mississippi River bluffs, with their sweeping views and quiet beauty, harbor more than natural wonder. They are a space where the echoes of human life linger, where a simple picnic becomes a portal into a time that is no longer, yet refuses to vanish completely. A simple picnic becomes a portal into a time that is no longer, yet refuses to vanish completely. The phantom picnic endures, a testament to the persistence of memory and the quiet, mysterious ways in which the past can touch the present, reminding those who encounter it that some moments are never truly lost. A testament to the persistence of memory and the quiet, mysterious ways in which the past can touch the present, reminding those who encounter it that some moments are never truly lost. Bogue Creek winds quietly through dense forests, its waters slow and reflective. The banks are lined with cypress trees and tangled undergrowth, their shadows stretching across the water in the late afternoon sun. Birds call in the distance, and the gentle rustle of leaves creates a calming soundtrack for anyone walking along the creek. Yet beneath this serene exterior, there is a story that has captured the attention of locals and travelers alike. Near the Waterways' edge, witnesses describe a strange and unsettling sight. A dog appears seemingly out of nowhere, its form distinct yet ethereal. It stands silently on the bank, fur glistening faintly in the fading light, eyes fixed on the creek. The dog's demeanor is calm, almost expectant, and its gaze follows anyone who dares approach. The atmosphere is one of foreboding and unease, as the witnesses watch the dog with a mix of fascination and trepidation. Observers report that the dog behaves in a way no ordinary animal would. It moves closer when noticed, yet keeps a perfect distance. Attempts to reach out or pet the dog are met with frustration and unease. The instant contact seems possible, the figure blurs and vanishes, leaving only the whisper of wind and the faint echo of footsteps on the creek's edge. The dog's appearance is often accompanied by subtle phenomena. Water ripples without wind, and the reflection of the dog seems delayed or distorted in the surface. Sounds of distant barking sometimes echo along the creek, though no other animals are present. The air grows cooler, and a sense of quiet tension permeates the surroundings, as if the forest itself is holding its breath in the presence of the spectral visitor. As if the forest itself is holding its breath in the presence of the spectral visitor. Local legends attempt to explain the vanishing dog. Some say it is the spirit of a loyal companion who waited for its owner long after passing. Others suggest the creature serves as a guardian of the creek, a silent witness to events both past and present. Regardless of interpretation, the dog leaves an impression on those who see it, lingering in memory as a figure both comforting and unsettling. The creek itself seems to amplify the mystery. Mist often rises from the water in the early morning and evening, curling around trees and roots in soft, shifting tendrils. Through this fog, the dog's form is said to appear more clearly, sometimes pausing at the edge of the water, other times darting along the bank before vanishing entirely. Witnesses report that these encounters are fleeting, yet unforgettable, leaving a profound sense of having glimpsed something beyond the ordinary world. Sightings are not limited to any single season or time of day. On bright afternoons, the dog may be seen paused beneath a tree, ears alert, as though listening to distant sounds no human can hear. At night, its eyes are said to glow faintly in the dark, reflecting moonlight on the surface of the creek. The consistent details across multiple accounts add weight to the phenomenon, reinforcing the impression that this is more than imagination or coincidence. The vanishing dog has become part of the cultural fabric of the area. Stories are shared in hushed tones among locals, passed down through generations, and recounted by travelers seeking a brush with the unexplained. Each retelling adds nuance and detail, yet the core experience remains unchanged. The sudden appearance of a loyal, silent figure that disappears at the moment it could be reached. Some who attempt to photograph or record the dog report strange results. Images often appear blurry, distorted, or empty where the dog was seen. Audio recordings may capture faint barks or whispers that cannot be identified. These unexplained occurrences contribute to the enduring mystery and sense of wonder surrounding Bog Holma Creek, blending the natural and supernatural in subtle, disquieting ways. Visitors who come seeking the vanishing dog often describe a mixture of anticipation and apprehension. Walking along the water's edge, they notice the gentle movement of the creek, the shifting patterns of sunlight and shadow, and the distant calls of wildlife. Every rustle of leaves, every ripple of water, becomes charged with possibility. And then, sometimes, the dog appears. Silent and patient. Watching before it vanishes. As if aware of the limits of human perception. The experience leaves a lasting impression. The dog is more than a fleeting vision. It embodies themes of loyalty, mystery, and the unknown. Its presence transforms the creek from a quiet stretch of water into a place of heightened awareness, where the ordinary rules of reality seem to shift, and where the boundary between the living and the unseen feels thinner. Bog Holma Creek endures as a place where the natural world meets the supernatural. The water continues to flow, carrying the echoes of footsteps, the rustle of leaves, and the memory of the vanishing dog. The figure appears and disappears, a silent companion to those who wander along the banks, reminding all who encounter it that some mysteries are meant to be glimpsed and never fully grasped. Quietly persisting in the margins of perception, the vanishing dog remains an emblem of Bog Holma Creek. A gentle yet haunting presence that invites reflection and wonder. Drifts along the water's edge, fleeting and untouchable. A bridge between the tangible world and the mysterious unseen. Those who witness it leave with a sense of awe and curiosity, carrying the memory of a creature that exists both in the world and just beyond it, forever tied to the winding waters of the creek. The Tallahatchie Delta stretches wide under the cover of night, its waters dark and slow-moving. Moonlight glints off the surface, reflecting the quiet stillness that has settled over the marshes and the riverbanks. The air carries the scent of wet earth and reeds, heavy with the history of a land shaped by water and time. Fishermen and travelers know the river as a lifeline, yet after dusk, it seems to take on a life of its own, as if the waters themselves remember events long past. As if the waters themselves remember events long past. Locals speak of a shadowy figure that emerges from the river after nightfall. Descriptions vary, but all agree on its silent presence and the way it moves with the water, gliding across the surface before sinking back beneath the depths. Some say it is the spirit of a person lost to the river many decades ago, bound to the waters in search of something that can never be found. Others believe it is a guardian of the delta, a restless presence that observes the land and the people who walk its banks. Those who have seen the spirit describe an uncanny stillness in the air just before its appearance. The wind drops, and the usual sounds of night, the croak of frogs, the chirping of insects fade into silence. Then, a dark shape rises from the water, shifting and ethereal, glancing toward the shore as if watching for anyone who might wander too close. Its gaze is said to be both distant and knowing, carrying the weight of sorrow and memory. The figure does not speak, and yet its presence communicates an unspoken message. Witnesses report a chill that runs through the air, a sensation that reaches to the bones, and the feeling that the delta itself is aware of their presence. The shadow lingers for a moment, sometimes long enough for the human eye to make out the faint outline of shoulders or the glint of eyes reflecting moonlight. Then, as quietly as it appeared, it slips beneath the water, leaving only ripples and a lingering sense of unease. Stories passed down through generations tell of the delta's power to hold on to the past. The river is known for sudden currents and hidden channels that have claimed countless travelers over the years. Some say the restless spirit is tied to one such tragedy, bound to roam the waters where life was lost, repeating the last moments before vanishing. The people who live along the delta have learned to respect these waters, recognizing that beneath the placid surface lies a world that belongs to both the living and the unseen. The delta's landscape seems to change when the spirit appears. Mist rolls across the water, obscuring the banks and softening the shapes of cypress trees. Shadows lengthen, blending with the darkness of the night. And the river seems to deepen in color, reflecting only the faintest light. The sounds of nature are subdued, replaced by the gentle lapping of water. And the occasional whisper of reeds swaying in a current. It is a place where one can feel both the beauty and the mystery of the delta. And where encounters with the restless spirit leave an indelible impression. Many who witness the figure speak of its effect on the mind as well as the senses. Some feel a tug of curiosity, a desire to approach, yet hesitation always prevails. There is a knowing in the spirit's gaze that warns against intrusion. It is as though the delta itself channels the presence, reminding visitors that some boundaries exist not for fear, but for respect. Those who linger too long sometimes report sudden cold spots, the sensation of being watched, and the quiet, almost rhythmic movement of water without any visible cause. The river is not always forgiving. Rain and storms stir its currents, hiding channels and reshaping the landscape overnight. In such conditions, the spirit is said to become more elusive, appearing briefly, then disappearing into the darkness, leaving only ripples and fleeting impressions. Yet in calm nights, when the moon is high and the delta lies quiet, its presence becomes more pronounced. Observers see the dark silhouette rise slowly, as if contemplating the horizon, before sinking again into the depths from which it came. The legend of the restless river spirit has endured because it is tied to both memory and caution. Fishermen tell tales of seeing the figure while casting nets, feeling an unseen hand brush the water or a cold presence near their boats. Travelers report glimpses of shadow moving against the reflection of the moon, only for it to vanish when approached. The delta becomes a place of both awe and respect, a landscape where human history and supernatural presence intertwine seamlessly. Even when the figure is not seen, its influence lingers. Its waters flow with an energy that hints at hidden depths, both physical and spiritual. The restless spirit remains part of this environment, a reminder that some stories are etched into the land, waiting for those who are observant enough to notice. As dawn approaches, the mist begins to dissipate, and the Tallahatchie Delta returns to its ordinary rhythm. Birds take flight, the water sparkles in the morning sun, and the sounds of the delta fill the air once more. And the sounds of the delta fill the air once more. The memory of the night remains, the figure in the river, the silent watch over the waters, and the quiet, enduring presence of the restless spirit. The delta continues its course, holding both the living and the unseen, ensuring that the shadowy figure will always rise again. When night falls, carrying with it the weight of history. And the mystery of the restless river. And the mystery of the restless river. Thank you for joining me tonight as we explored the haunted rivers of Mississippi. We have witnessed ghostly boatmen, lost lovers, phantom fishermen, and restless spirits along the banks. These rivers hold memories too dark to forget, and echoes of the past flow endlessly through the waters. If you ever find yourself alone by a Mississippi river at night, listen for whispers, watch the shadows, and respect the spirits who linger. Some hauntings are playful. Some are sorrowful. And some are warnings carried on the water. If you ever find yourself alone by a Mississippi river at night, listen for whispers, watch the shadows, and respect the spirits who linger. Until next time. Stay curious. Stay safe. And remember that even the calmest river can hide secrets beneath its surface.